in 10 years.
Yeah, those things are like shortening all the time, right?
They'll be like, what's it called, teleportation in 10 years?
Nowadays, not going to be teleported. Hey guys, Laura is
Hey.
fucking crazy. So welcome to another one of our live sessions. So during those live sessions, we answer all the questions that you guys have about traveling in New Zealand, and we're here for an entire hour. So thank you very much for joining. We're going to get started.
Yeah, so if you guys are wondering who the hell we are, this is Robin and I'm Laura, and we're the team behind BackpackerGuide.NZ, which is a completely free website full of loads of travel information about traveling in New Zealand, from all the fun stuff like the awesome destinations to go to, the awesome activities, to all the sort of practical things like getting flights, doing a working holiday, and all that sort of like nitty-gritty stuff that it's all there. Anyway, so if you have any questions about traveling in New Zealand, then every single Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time, which we'll go through the times in just a little bit, we do this live Q&A session where you guys can come onto the live chat and ask us your questions about traveling in New Zealand. And just to give you an overview of what those times are around the world, so just again, that's 8 a.m. New Zealand time every Sunday. But around the world, in the US, that is 4 p.m. EST or 12 p.m. PST. That's in France or the UK.
No, in the UK it's 9 p.m. and in France it's 10 p.m. I just did it because they don't have the same time now. Yeah.
And in India, that is, and those are on a Saturday, by the way.
Saturday.
And in India, on a Sunday morning, that's 1:30 a.m.
That's pretty early.
It is pretty early. So throughout the week, we do take your questions on our various social media channels so that we can go through them during this live Q&A session as well. So the way for you guys to come and send us your questions is through any of our YouTube videos. If you put in the comments your question, we'll add it to our poll to do on our Q&A session. Also, you can send us a message on Facebook. Just search Backpacker Guide NZ. You can also send us a private message on Instagram at BackpackerGuide.NZ. And you can give us a mention on Twitter at BPKGuide.
Cool, that's a lot of addresses.
That is.
All right, so before we get started, guys, we're going to take a minute to say thank you for all your support. This week, we have passed the 800,000 views on YouTube. So we are on our way to the million, and that is really awesome. So thank you so much for everything. It is just absolutely wonderful. All right, so on the live chat, we already have Hamed that says hi. So hi, Hamed. Hey. I hope that you're having a good day. Where are you from? Jack says, hey guys, got my flight booked to Christchurch for mid-July. Have you guys been skiing on the South Island? Any tips for that? Also the cost. Thanks in advance. Oh, well, do you want to get started on that? Do you want to talk about skiing in the... All right, cool. So let's get started. So Jack on Facebook says, hi guys, I got my flight booked for Christchurch in mid-July. Have you been skiing in the South Island? Any tips for that? Also, what are the costs? Thanks in advance. All right, so skiing on the South Island, it has been a big of a hot topic at the moment. We talked very recently about the best ski fields in the country. Yeah. So we link up to the description. So in the description below, we link up to that video. But yes, there are a ton of ski fields on the South Island, and that's because the South Island has the Southern Alps. So the Southern Alps is basically the massive mountain chain that, well, literally forms the South Island. It crosses the entire island, and the mountains are actually quite rugged and quite high, so there is really heaps of ski fields there. Now the ski fields that are available on the South Island, they range from like the really big one that Laura is going to elaborate about, because I'm pretty sure this is where you're going to be skiing, Jack. But there are also a lot of very small ski fields, which often they're called ski clubs, right?
Club fields.
Club fields, yeah, club fields. So now those club fields are very small. So some of the one that comes to mind are like Rainbows, I think is the.
Oh no, that's actually a commercial one. But Treble Cone, Mount Olympus.
No, the really small one.
Treble Cone. Oh, sorry. Temple Basin.
Yeah, Temple Basin.
The other one that begins with T.
So Triple Cone is a big one, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like Temple Basins, for example, they're really small, and you're gonna have like about 3 different kind of slides that you can take. Is this called a slide? No, on you runs. 3 different runs. Sometimes to go up, you literally just hold on to a rope, and there's like a little pulley that kind of goes around there, and it's that tiny. So a lot of those very small ski fields, despite the fact that you will see them marked as ski fields or ski clubs, they, to be quite honest, won't warrants for you to go over there for like literally a week and then spend a week skiing over there. You know, like a lot of people do in Europe or in North America, where you go to, you know, let's say to Aspen for a week, or you go to Megève or to Courchevel in France for a week to go skiing. That's not really what you're going to be doing in the small ski clubs. You just go over there for one day, you just try it out, and you kind of have like really authentic skiing experience, like a real New Zealand skiing experience. Now, if you really want to do a lot of skiing, usually you're going to want to go to like the more commercial kind of ski field, the really bigger one, like Treble Cone that we're talking about, like Cadrona, like the Remarkable. So there is quite a few options, and they're all within the vicinity of both Wanaka and Queenstown. So Wanaka and Queenstown are more on the lower half of the South Island, and this is where you have some of the most commercial ski field. So now for all the costs and all those kind of things, I'm going to pass it on to Laura. And so we're going to talk about commercial ski fields.
Yeah, so in terms of costs, just to do a day on one of the commercial ski fields, this is usually around 100 New Zealand dollars per day. Obviously, there's ways to make that a bit cheaper, which is buying a multi-day pass, or sometimes even a season pass. If you're staying around for over a week, usually getting a season pass is the most cost-effective way of doing that. And usually on ski passes, you can get early bird deals, which you will need to basically a couple of months after the winter season has just gone. So the winter season goes from July to around the beginning of October, late September. Soon, usually at the end of October or November, you can get early bird season pass deals, where that really is like the best value for money. It's around $600 to get a whole season pass, usually for multiple ski fields, but otherwise it's into the like 1,200 New Zealand dollars to get a season pass. In terms of multi-day passes, that it will cost you around $600 for about a week of skiing. Yeah, also on top of that, you need to think of your costs for rental. The large commercial ski fields, so as Jack says, he's going to Christchurch, so he might want to consider going to Mount Hutt, which is one of the closest large commercial ski field to Christchurch. This has rental facilities on the mountain, and the cost of that really depends on what you need to hire. I mean, if you have your own your own ski jacket and salopettes and ski boots and all that, obviously you will only need to get your board or your skis. So that makes it a little bit cheaper, but obviously the more you need to hire, the more expensive it's going to be. So that really depends on what item or what you need to hire. And then on top of that, you probably need to consider the costs for food. The food on the mountain, like anywhere in the world really on a ski field, it's always going to be more expensive when buying your meals on the mountain. So a lot of people like to offset this by actually taking their own food up there. There's a lot of in Mount Hutt, for instance, this is close to a town called Methven, which actually has quite a few backpacker hostels and self-catering, like holiday parks and stuff like that. So you can use self-catering facilities, make your own lunches and stuff to take up onto the mountain with you. And that's a way of saving money. But otherwise, you'll be paying maybe around like $10 for a punnet of fries, which is, that's pretty ridiculous for what it is, but that's just what it is. On the ski fields in New Zealand, like anywhere in the world, it's pretty expensive for food. In terms of other things you might want to consider, if you're doing ski lessons, obviously they do have ski lessons and stuff like that on the commercial ski fields, which I actually don't know the price of those off the top of my head, but it is another expense to consider.
Yeah. All right, so you also asked for a couple of tips about, a couple of tips if you are going to skiing in New Zealand, especially in the South Island. So we'll go through a few tips that we have for you. We do one each as it goes. So the first thing that comes to my mind for me personally is that if you go on the commercial ski field, in my opinion, you should actually make sure that you get yourself a ride to get up there. So you take a bus, you take a shuttle, you don't drive yourself up there. Parking over there is painful. The road is not that great. So the first thing I will do is that I organize transport to go up to the ski field, because in New Zealand, you will find that very often the part of the town where you have your accommodation is further away from the ski field than what they are in Europe. In Europe, very often you can literally kind of ski almost all the way to your accommodation.
Yeah.
It does happen, right? but it's not the case in New Zealand. So you will have the town like Queenstown or Wanaka, and then you will have a good like 30-minute drive, sometimes even more, to go all the way up to the ski field. Now, it's not something you're necessarily going to want to have to do because you have to pay for parking, because the road's not that great, because you're probably going to be a backpacker, so you're not going to have the best car, just those kind of things. So get transportation sorted, get the shuttle. Do you want to do 4 tips?
Yeah, so the thing to note as well, one of the like big tips I would give to anyone going skiing in New Zealand is to take sunscreen up with you. Even in winter at a high altitude, you are very likely to get sunburned. And this can, even happen on a sunny day in the middle of winter. That's when the UV rays are the most intense. So definitely take some sunscreen up onto the mountain with you.
Yeah, that's another really good tip. The next one that I will have for you is that I will try to save some money by buying my my ski pass really early. So the earlier you buy it, the better you are off, so you can get like season pass really early on in the season. Like, what months can you get like
I just went through that at the beginning. So October and November is like the best time to buy it.
So when you get those season pass really early, you can save so much money. Like you could get like literally for $500, you can get the entire season pass. Well, otherwise you'll pay like $100 a day. So yeah, to me, it's a no-brainer. If you come to New Zealand to ski, you're going to want to get yourself a season pass, and if possible early. So save some money, do that. Yeah.
Also, like I was mentioning before, like do have some really good equipment for on the mountain. Obviously, in terms of what you're wearing, you're going to want to have a proper ski jacket and salopettes to keep yourself warm and protect yourself from the snow in case you fall over. And if you don't have any of that equipment yourself, because I know it can be pretty expensive, they do rent all that sort of gear up on the commercial ski fields. So there's no real excuse really, just make sure that you are prepared and also wear a helmet. In New Zealand, it is really common for people, like everyone pretty much wears a helmet. I know in other countries like Japan and in some European countries, it's not really cool to wear a helmet on the ski fields, but in New Zealand, it's sort of the norm. So make sure you wear a helmet.
So I actually have forgotten the name of that item, which is my next tips, which is really annoying. It's those items which have like a GPS stuff, and you can pull on it, and they come and get you. You have those
like a locator beacon.
Yeah, like a beacon. Yes, a locator beacon. That's the thing. So if you plan on doing the off piste, make sure you have a locator beacon. It is so important to actually be safe when doing these kind of things, and obviously only go off track if you are very well experienced, if you know what you're doing, and if you just have a bunch of mates or people that you've met in New Zealand, and they kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going to go do this one, I'm going to go do this one. If you don't feel that you have the level, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And skiing and snowboarding is extremely dependent on your personal skin and your own abilities. So don't be a dumbass.
Yeah.
Seriously, don't.
And actually, segueing off that one, if you are a beginner, make sure you get lessons first. That you can't expect to get onto some skis or a snowboard and just pick it up as you're going along, because it's just too dangerous to even try and attempt that. If you can pick up a lot of speed really quickly, and if you don't know how to stop or manage your own speed, then you can not only end up hurting yourself but crash into some other people. And just make sure you get some lessons first before you hit the slopes alone.
All right, so that's basically our take for skiing in the south end of New Zealand. So where you're going to ski, what are different type of ski fields. A bit of our take on it, as well as a bunch of tips. So I hope that this helped you, Jack. If it does, click like, click subscribe, share this video with everybody. And if you guys have some questions of your own, put them in the comments below, put them in the live chat right now, and we'll be here to answer those questions every single week. All right, let's get back to the live chat. Calvin is asking, what is our recommendation for personal safety and emergency? Calvin, are you talking about skiing and snowboarding again, or are you talking about in general in New Zealand? If you can give us a little bit of context, we'll be able to answer that for you. And Jack is asking about a rental. Will I need four-wheel drive car and snow chains? We actually did answer this question, literally, I think that was last week. We talked about that.
Yeah.
You do not need a four-wheel drive, but you will need snow chains. So yeah, but you don't need a four-wheel drive. And especially with the tips I just gave you, which is taking a ride up there. So you get yourself a cheaper car. That's going to be much easier for you to run, much easier to drive, much cheaper to put gas in and to even rent.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't get yourself a four-wheel drive. Just
Yeah, there's usually plenty of mountain shuttles and buses that the ski fields put on for people to go up. So they're usually the best way to get up there.
Yeah. Speaking of driving in New Zealand, the bridge on the west coast of New Zealand has been reopened yesterday. So it is now open. You guys can now travel all around the South End. A lot of people have been asking questions about that. So it took, I think it's 13 days for them to rebuild an entire new bridge.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so it's pretty good. Now you can pass. It's a one-way bridge, so you know it slows down a little bit of traffic, but it's New Zealand, so there's not really that much traffic. So you may lose about a minute and a half, but it's going to be all good. So yeah, keep that in mind. You now can travel all around the west coast. So Franz Josef and Falls Glacier are as accessible as ever. So yeah, if you were planning on changing your plans, well, you don't have to now. Whoop, whoop.
Awesome.
All right, cool. What is Hamid asking? I want to migrate to your country from Iran. Ooh, shalom. But my information about New Zealand is very low, and I only saw NZ Immigration governmental site. Could you guide me on how to find the cost of living and conditions?
Well, you need to also go onto BackpackerGuide.NZ, because that literally has all the information about, you know, like what the cost of life is in New Zealand. And also you can look on our YouTube channel where you are right now and type in how expensive is New Zealand, and that gives you a general cost of all everyday items, and that will give you a really good overview of the cost of life in New Zealand. Yeah,
so we've done a whole video about that, Hamid. Literally that goes about the cost of apple, the cost of meat, the cost of rent, the cost of phone, the cost of everything. So check those one out, and obviously check www.backpackerguide.nz, and on there we put a lot of information for you, so that should help you get a bit of understanding about New Zealand. And yes, for immigration questions, you go to the government website, and that's the only place where you're going to get the right information. Calvin says, I would be very concerned for my personal safety there. I don't think you should. It's one of the safest countries in the world. Yes, we had one incident, but you know it's very isolated, and that's totally fine. So yeah, I think your concerns are unfounded. We've been in New Zealand for a very long time. We never had any problem, and New Zealand is a very safe country. So yeah, don't be worried about that at all. All right, should we go with some questions that we received previously while people are asking us some more questions? All right, cool. What about we go for? Well, we're gonna go for Diego. All right. So Diego Gil Edo says, could you make a North Island video for 6-day itinerary, but flying back from Auckland instead of going to Wellington? That's a response question to one of our videos.
Oh, cool.
All right. So just a quick backstory about this one. So we did a video called the 6-day itinerary on the North Island. And Diego basically went on that video and said, okay, your itinerary finishes in Wellington, and I want to fly off from Auckland. So I would like to adapt this itinerary a little bit. So our first, so we had a discussion with Laura, and our first opinion was you should literally just fly from Wellington back to Auckland at that point. So you finish like kind of in the evening, you fly back Wellington to Auckland, and then you'll be able to, you'll be at the Auckland airport. So hop on a plane and go home. So that would be our main way of doing it, just because it would allow you to do so much more around the North Island. And on top of that, it is rather cheap to fly between Auckland and Wellington. There is a lot of flight going through, and there is 2 companies there, so there is a little bit of competition. So there is a company called Jetstar, and there is a company called Air New Zealand. So now those 2 companies compete a lot on the main kind of route around New Zealand. So it's usually Auckland, Wellington, Auckland, Christchurch, and Auckland, Queenstown. And that's the one where you're going to get some really cheap flight. It can go as low as around $49 that we find quite often. So just to put that into perspective, $49 would be much less. That would be probably about a fifth of what you would spend in gas making your way across, from Wellington to Auckland. So that'd be so much easier for you to do that. And on top of that, you can just, give your car back and, have a little bit of a break, because no matter how you cut it, if you just do 6 days on the North Island, you will be driving a lot. And it's not necessarily super pleasant to spend literally the only 6 days you have in New Zealand driving, and driving again. So you may want to have a little bit of a break right here.
Yeah.
So that's our first kind of take on it. The other options that you could have would be to take a bus. There are some night bus which are driving from Wellington to Auckland. So another option will be to finish on the 6th day of that itinerary that we showed, and to literally in the evening hop in the bus. And in the next morning, you're going to be waking up in Auckland, and the bus actually stops at the Auckland airport, so you can hop on your flight and go back home. Now, the night bus are comfortable-ish. They're not the least comfortable buses,
they
but they're
have
not
beds,
the
so it's better than your normal bus. Yeah.
So they literally have like lay flat beds, right? So they're not the least comfortable stuff, but they're not the most comfortable one. And on top of that, you are about to take a rather long flight going back home. I don't know where you're from, but usually people fly about 10 to 20 hours to come to New Zealand. So you're about to embark in a very long and hard journey for your body. So I'm not 100% sure if I would love to do that, but that's another one of your options.
Yeah.
So our first take on it is stick to the same itinerary that we gave you, because it shows you the best of the Northern, and because it allows you to do a lot more, but maybe try to connect from Wellington. So fly or bus there. Now, if you don't want to do that, we still came up with an itinerary for you, just because we don't want to leave you hanging. So we came up with an itinerary for you to spend 6 days on the Northern, and without making it too crazy. So we're going to start in Auckland, obviously. We're going to go to Rotorua while stopping by Waitomo, and then we're going to go to Tarawera, and then we're going to drive back toward Auckland and stopping by Hobbiton. All right, so that's basically what we came up with for you. Whew, that was a hard one to do. Look at that, the map is back. I know that you guys really love the map.
Yeah.
So here we go. Laura, do you want to get us started? So we're starting in Auckland, right?
So I think on your first day, you're arriving at the Auckland airport, which is about 45 minutes south of Auckland City. So I think the best thing to do is to make your way towards Rotorua, stopping by Waitomo on the way there. So just to give you an idea, that route kind of looks like this. So in Waitomo, this is the famous place in New Zealand to see glowworms, which are these really awesome little blue twinkling lights that you can see in caves. And in Waitomo, they also have amazing limestone caves, which you can experience in a variety of ways. You can go caving, you can go blackwater rafting, which is essentially getting in a big inflatable rubber ring and sort of riding some gentle rapids through the caves, doing some abseiling, but you can also do some more mellow activities like doing a walking cave tour or getting in a little boat, and which takes you out onto like a little lake in the cave where you can see an amazing amount of glowworms. Or if you want to do some free things in Waitomo, there are some bushwalks that you can be doing which actually have glowworms along them at night. We have loads of activities listed on our free things to do in Waitomo article, which we have on BackpackerGuide.NZ. So we'll make sure to link that in the description when we do the rebroadcast of this video. So that's what you can do in Waitomo on the way to Rotorua.
So on that day, you're going to stop in Rotorua. Now, when you arrive in Rotorua, you can do, if you arrive early enough, you can go to one of the beautiful geothermal parks that they have over there. We think about Te Puia or Waio Tapu, which are absolutely wonderful. They're all those pictures of like super bright orange lakes and those kind of really colorful stuff. So that's really awesome to visit. If you arrive a little bit later, maybe you can join a Maori evening, which is really awesome, where you're going to get to experience, the Maori culture. You're going to see a Maori show. You're going to try the hangi, which is a traditional Maori meal. You're going to visit a Maori village. It's absolutely wonderful. And there's a couple of places where you can do that. There's one called Mitai, and there's the other one, which is called Tamaki Village. Whew, I was about to forget the name, which is called Tamaki Maori Village. Now we have videos of all those activities in this channel, so you can just use the search bar on our channel and just type, just type Maori, for example, and you'll find those things. And in type geothermal, and you'll find the geothermal parks as well. So there is really a lot of amazing things to do in Rotorua, and it's really a great place to explore. So we advise you to have a couple of days there and actually do at least those two activities, if not more.
Yeah.
Then after that, you're going to make your way toward Tongariro, and there are some towns around which are National Park and Turengi.
Yeah. So yeah, on the way down to the Tongariro National Park, you could be stopping in a little place called Taupo, which has skydiving, bungee jumping. It's kind of like the adventure capital of the North Island. So if you have any of those, big epic activities on your bucket list, even whitewater rafting, jet boating, you can do them from Taupo or a little town just below it called Turangi. And on the way through, they're the towns on the way to the Tongariro National Park. And most people know the Tongariro National Park for being the home of the Tongariro Crossing, which is New Zealand's most popular day hike. And that takes you along some awesome volcanic scenery with the Emerald Lakes, some steaming vents from the volcanoes, and Mount Nauhoi, which is Mount Doom from the Lord of the Rings. So you will need to spend a whole day. You'll need to put a whole day aside to do the Tongariro Crossing, but you might be able to fit that into your 6-day itinerary. Otherwise, in the Tongariro National Park, there are plenty of other hikes to be doing, and we do list them all actually in an article that we have on BackpackerGuide.NZ, which is the walks from Whakapapa and National Park Village, and we'll make sure to link that up in the description below as well. So then the next day, you'll be making your way back toward Auckland via Hobbiton.
Here you go. So now Hobbiton is, one of the most popular attractions in New Zealand. It is the movie set where the movies like The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit were shot. It does look exactly like in the movie. It looks absolutely fantastic. It's a rather quick tour, though. You'll be surprised that it goes that fast. But there's really a lot to see along the way. You get a lot of really typical picture opportunity, the perfect things to see on your way back. But if you're not into that, you can stop alongside the Coromandel Peninsula. There is a place called the Karenga Heke Gorge, which are absolutely fantastic. It's a short walk to visit, and it's beautiful natural gorge. They're really nice. So those two places are a little bit of a detour, but it's definitely worth doing while you're making your way alongside back to Auckland. Now, if you do have an extra day in Auckland, we suggest that you go to Rangitoto Island, which is just a short ferry away from the Auckland city centre. And there's an extinct volcano where you're going to be able to walk on lava field, go inside lava caves, and go all the way on top, and you have a beautiful view of the skyline. That would be a great way to spend your last day in Auckland. So this is how we will do literally just 6 days on the North Island and driving as a loop and getting back up to Auckland. But again, there is a lot of options to keep doing the same itinerary that we suggested, finishing in Wellington and then make your way back toward Auckland, the largest city of New Zealand. So this is our opinion on what you should be doing, Diego. If you did find that useful, like, subscribe. If you guys are watching it and your name is not Diego, you can still like and subscribe. And if you have comments and questions of your own, put them in the comments below. We're here to answer your questions every single week.
And if you guys, and if you guys actually have a certain amount of days in New Zealand and want us to make an itinerary for you, make sure you put it in the comments in the video below or in the description below, and put your comments in the live chat, and we will make an itinerary for you guys.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of the live chat, so Rinaldi is asking, can you guys tell me about minimum wage Kiwi food picker in New Zealand? Thanks in advance. So the minimum wage in New Zealand is $17.70. At the moment, there is a shortage of Kiwi food pickers. So we've seen some pickers advertising for jobs up to like $23 an hour, which is quite a lot of money. But usually for Kiwi food picking, you are paid per bin. So you are basically working with a team of people, you're picking and you're filling up the bin, and that's averages between 18 to $26 an hour as a team works. So in the first few days, you're really not making as much money as that. But then when you get the hang of it, then you start getting used to it and you start making some more money. There is a lot of information on BackpackerGuide.NZ. So for example, we have the fruit picking job, the wage explained. So you go on the work in New Zealand and you start browsing. There's really a lot of things. And there is even, speaking of kiwi fruit, what is it really like to work in a kiwi fruit pack house? We've done that. We know how it is. We give you all our tips and what you actually can expect there. So make sure that you check those ones out, Rinaldi.
And we also have a video of when we actually worked doing kiwi fruit picking ourselves and working in a kiwi fruit pack house, which is another thing you should also consider. It's not just about picking in the kiwi fruit industry. You can also work in pack houses, and there's like loads of different jobs that you can do in terms of like the kiwi fruit industry. So yeah, take a look on our videos as well on our channel on kiwi fruit industry stuff.
Cool. Then we also have the Carter vlogs, looking to saying the Carter vlogs. I've never watched your vlogs, guys. Do you guys do video often? Can you give me a link? Looking to do the Nevis bungee and swing when I got to New Zealand, but do you know if there is a public transport from Queenstown to the venue? They do pick up.
Yeah, so the company that runs
the
Nevis bungee, AJ Hackett, they have an office right in the centre of Queenstown, and they do buses which takes people from the centre of Queenstown to the Nevis bungee. So you don't need to have a car in order to do that activity. They'll take you straight to where you need to go.
Yeah. And then there's also Leo Medina, who says it's pissing down in Moorea now. So first, that sucks for you, mate.
You should see it in New Zealand. It's super sunny today.
It is amazing weather. Honestly, that is wonderful. I kind of want to go swim in the lagoon.
I was going to say, I think I'm ready to put my bikini on.
Yeah.
Very tropical.
All right, so Leo is actually a mate of ours, which actually has packed up his bag from New Zealand, is now traveling with his girlfriend all around the world. So if you guys want to follow a little bit what they're doing, you can check him out on Instagram. It's at Medina Meditates. And if you want to read their stories, his girlfriend is actually running a little blog right now, which I think is called explorewithali.com or something like that.
Yeah.
So Leo will put that in the comments. If you guys want to follow that, it's kind of inspirational. And at the moment they are in French Polynesia, and they don't have good weather. So sucks to be you.
And Rock just woke up in Auckland. Nice.
And he asked how we are doing.
We are doing pretty good.
Thank you for asking. Nobody ever asked like how are you?
Thanks.
We're doing pretty well. We're pretty cold because it's winter is coming here, but it's the sun. It's quite wonderful, and we're pretty excited because we're going to be in Auckland next month, and we've asked you guys if you wanted to meet up with us or not, and you guys said yes. So for this reason, we're actually going to organize a meetup. So next month in Auckland, we think it's going to be around the 7th, if I'm correct. But we will organize catch-up drinks with everybody that want to join. So basically, we're going to book a table in the bar, and we're going to say, if you want to join us, we'll have a pint over there.
Yeah. Pop
in. So it's happening. I think it's on Tuesday the 7th next month, but we will tell you more next week. So I make sure that I book the venue and all of that. So that's pretty exciting. Thanks for asking, Rock Visuals. I really appreciate the fact that you asked how we're doing. All right. While you guys are giving us some more questions, while you guys are asking us some more questions, we'll go for some that we received.
Yeah.
Where are we? No, we've done those ones. Oh, all right, cool. Michael Mariano. Oh, he's not here right now.
He's usually here.
No worries. All right, Leo, just put the links down there because I don't even have them myself. God, don't say just thank you. Put the links. All right, cool. So Michael Mariano on Facebook says, "Aloha," or should I say kia ora? Any hidden gems in Rotorua? Shortest questions we ever had.
Yeah, I like it. Short and sweet.
All right, so Michael Mariano is actually from Hawaii. He's coming on the live chat quite often, and he's going to be spending quite a bit of time in Rotorua and just want to find something which is just like a bit less touristic. Now, Rotorua is famous for quite a lot of things which are really touristic, but they're definitely worth mentioning.
Yeah, so obviously in Rotorua, there are a lot of geothermal parks, which are probably some of the most touristy things to go and do. There's Waio Tapu, there's Te Puia, and there's also a lot of sort of Maori tours you can go on as well. There's also really popular hikes like the Redwoods. Everybody loves going to the Redwoods, which is this forest full of California redwood trees. Lots of different hikes to do around there. Just what else is there? Like most popular things to do in Rotorua, do a zob or an ogo.
Yeah, it's really popular.
Yeah, like some hamster ball rolling down a hill. So going up the gondola to Skyline Rotorua and doing the luge. That's another really popular touristy thing to do. But we'll go through some of the probably less visited places to go in Rotorua if you need to get away from it all.
Just want the place to yourself.
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing that we came up with is the I'm going to straight out again. The first thing that we came up with is the Hamurana Springs. So now this is the paid activity. It's going to set you back about $20, but it's an amazing natural springs. It looks absolutely gorgeous. You've got all those ferns around it. You've got this turquoise blue water. It is a picture perfect place to spend some time around Rotorua. It is about 15 days. Oh, sorry about that. There's about a 15-minute walk along the way, and it's a little outside of town, but it's definitely worth driving there. So the Hamurana Springs. I'm sorry for mispronouncing this one so bad, but yeah.
Yeah, another place that you can go to near Rotorua is Lake Tarawera, and more specifically the Tarawera Trail. This is a hiking trail along a beautiful lake, and it's definitely a less visited place just outside of Rotorua. You do need to have your own transport in order to get there, but once you get there, there's about a 5-hour walk that you can do, which takes you to some natural hot springs at a campsite, which is really awesome. A good place to get a little bit of a quieter, free natural hot spring to relax in, and then you take a water taxi transport back to the start of the trail. So that's definitely a really awesome but sort of lesser known attraction around Rotorua.
Speaking of no attraction. I know, okay. It's going to sound weird, but the redwood forest in Rotorua is probably one of the most popular things to do because it's cheap to free, and it's really amazing to visit this big massive forest. You can bike and you can walk it. So it is a really popular one, but almost every single time I've been there, I felt kind of alone in those woods. Like, it's not like line of people. It just looks absolutely...
It depends which walk you do.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah. But like almost every single time we've been there, honestly, you feel kind of like alone there. So it's kind of worth considering if you want to get there. Yeah. Like, I mean, New Zealand is really not that crowded. Like, even let's say you go to Q&As Park, which is right in the city center of Rotorua, which has geothermal, features everywhere. It's totally free. So there is quite a lot of people that goes there. But when you get there, you literally almost see no one because well, you only have a lot of people when there's a big bus coming in. And
exactly.
So it's quite cool. Now, one of the activities that we'll definitely consider as a hidden gem that we've done is called Wingspan. Now, we have a video about Wingspan on our channel right here. It is a bird of prey sanctuary. Is it what it's called?
Yeah.
Bird of prey recovery center. So basically, there is a few native bird of prey in New Zealand, and when they get hurt around the area, they're brought here and they kind of nurture them back to full health and then release them back in the wild. It's an absolutely amazing place to see some of the rarest birds in New Zealand. It actually has been mentioned on the video this week that I called one of the birds the rarest one in New Zealand. It's not. It's the rarest bird of prey in New Zealand. So I'm apologizing for that now, officially on video. But yeah, it's really cool. They also do a show every day where you get to see them kind of help the bird practice. So they basically launch the birds, outside, and they kind of like call them back with some food and everything.
Falconries.
Some kind of falconry stuff. It's absolutely wonderful to watch, and getting so up close to those amazing animals. It's a one in lifetime experience because those birds is usually the thing that you see very far up in the sky and you don't see much more of them. So that's definitely one of the hidden gems.
Yeah. Another hidden gem I would say is Mount Tarawera. I mean, it's not exactly hidden because it's a huge volcano, but it is located just outside of Rotorua, and the only way you can actually get onto this mountain is through a private tour, which is through Kaitiaki Adventures, or with a helicopter tour. So I often compare Mount Tarawera to the Tongariro Crossing in terms of the landscape. It's got some really red volcanic rock around. You see a massive volcanic crater, and you get to walk right across the mountain, which is really cool. But in comparison to the Tongariro Crossing, it is super quiet. Only you and your tour group are the only ones that are going to be on the mountain at any one time.
Yeah. So you'll be with like 10, 15, 20 people at the most. And that is it. You have the whole mountain to yourself for you and 20 people. That is so cool.
Yeah.
All right, so the next one that I want to mention, and that's going to include a couple of things, right? So all of that is paid, but it's called Oraki Korako. So it's probably the least popular, least visited geothermal area in New Zealand, but it's one of the most beautiful ones. There is some really amazing features with so many different colors. We have a video about that as well. We did visit that during a very rainy day, so it made everything so smoky and everything. We loved it. It's a really awesome place to spend time in, and it's really best coupled with some of the tours. So there is an actual jet boat company called NZ River Jet that has a jet boat tour that goes there. So it's cool to do a combo. Or if you want to skip that, you just see it from far away. The same jet boat tours can take you to a place called the Squeeze, which is really weird. It's so awesome. So it's a really small, very narrow canyon that you have to squeeze your way through, and then you find basically really hot waterfall where you go over there and you kind of treat yourself to some awesome shots.
Yeah.
So that's definitely worth doing. The Squeeze, same thing. You can get the whole place to yourself. It's going to be you and your jet boat. So in the jet boat, you get between 6 and 9 people, and that is it.
Yeah.
So definitely worth doing. Really awesome.
Yeah. The final one I would mention is obviously in Rotorua, a lot of people want to experience the geothermal hot springs, and there's a lot of free hot springs you can do, but they're usually very busy. There's also the hot springs in Rotorua city itself called the Polynesian Spa, which again is very popular and very busy.
That is one of the busiest places.
Because it is in the center of Rotorua. But if you're looking for that natural sourced hot spring experience, then a really good one to go to, which is a little quieter, is at the Waikiki Valley Thermal Pools. This is a little bit out of Rotorua. I think it takes maybe about half an hour to drive there. But when you get there, it's much quieter than any of the other hot pools that you'll find in Rotorua. And it's very affordable as well. I think it's under $20 to get in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, they have lots of different hot pools in sort of natural bush settings. And they also have a little geothermal walk to go and see the source of the hot water spring that feeds the pools. And that's a really awesome one to go to as well. And we do have a video on us doing that experience ourselves, which we'll link to in the description below when we do the rebroadcast of this video.
Here you go. So this is our take for the hidden gems around Rotorua. There's definitely a lot to do in Rotorua, and that's one of the places where we always try to advise people to stay longer. There is so much to do in Rotorua. We can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
Come on, get yourself to Rotorua.
Yeah.
All right. So if you do have some questions of your own, put them in the comment below. If you did find this video useful, make sure to click like, make sure to hit subscribe. We're here to help every single week. All right, let's go back to the live chat. So Leo has put a few links for you guys if you want to follow them. Rock Visual is asking if we think it's a good investment to buy a car while on a working holiday visa. It will give you quite a lot of freedom, and you'll be able to sell it back around the end of your trip. We do have a lot of questions and answers about that on this channel, so make sure you check those ones out. It's usually about the amount of time that it takes you to buy it and then to sell it. So if you're here for a year, that's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
But if you're here for a shorter amount of time, know that there is going to be about a month of you stuck in an expensive city like Auckland to try to buy or sell a car. So it's a bit, it's a bit kind of like, is it all you want to finish your trip? So kind of up to you. There is a lot of bus transport around New Zealand, and you get to so many places. So I personally think that traveling by bus, like right now we're traveling mostly, with our car because we have all our cameras and all our stuff everywhere we go. But we traveled a lot by bus, and we always kind of think that it's our favorite way to travel around New Zealand. There's so many different options as well. You can do some hop on bus. You can do some, coach buses. You even have a new company now called Skip that is dead cheap right now. So you kind of have to weigh your pros and your cons and your budget and all of that. So it's something, if you want to type the whole questions, what's your budget, what you want to do, what those counties, you give us more context, we can definitely advise. But right now honestly, they're both the same. It depends on how much time you want to spend.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to go through another question. It's going to be another itinerary, and after that itinerary, you're going to do quick fire questions. So if you guys have some quick questions to put in,
there's a good question which pairs with one of our other questions that we have prepared here, actually.
All right. So
if you just read that, Matilda.
Oh, Matilda, I'm sorry, Matilda. I completely forgot about your question. I'm reading it. How did I miss that? All right, Matilda Noguera. Oh, you came here last week. All right, Matilda asked on YouTube, hi, I'm about to go to New Zealand. I'm a little bit older than most backpackers, and this is my first backpacking trip and solo. I prefer less crazy atmospheres, but I love making friends. How do I choose a calmer and friendlier hostel? This is going to pair really well with the question from Devin that we got on Facebook, which is...
So on Facebook, Devin asked, also similar to what you've just asked, good morning, Robin and Laura. I wanted to ask you for your next video if you had any tips to find the best hostels in a town. I see many hostels everywhere, but I don't know how to choose the best one.
All right, so you guys want to know about hostels and how to pick the best ones. It's obviously a question that actually comes up quite regularly. Look, just literally right now, we got it twice.
Yeah.
And that's true. There is so much offer in the kind of the backpacker kind of world in New Zealand. Even in the smallest, remotest town, you're going to find a hostel, and often 2, 3, 4, 5. So there is much more choice, and there is much more beds than there are backpackers. So obviously, you have choice, except if you are going to be in Auckland or Wellington in Queenstown in the high season, then at that point it's going to be a bit more of a fight to get a bed. But usually you have plenty of choice for your bed, and you, the consumer, basically is in power. So you have the opportunity to choose between so many different offers. So here's how basically Laura and I, which are professional travelers, making sure that we get the right hostel for us. And this will help you, Mathilde, also find a hostel which are a little bit more calmer and friendly, a bit more of a different vibe. Yeah. All right, so first way to pick it.
Yeah, so first thing you can do is to go on BackpackerGuide.NZ, where we actually do list all the hostels available in pretty much most towns in New Zealand. And we do list every single hostel and what they can provide, what sort of rooms they have, what vibes they have. So Mathilde, that might help you decide on, like, if it looks more like a party hostel, you probably want to avoid that, but choose one of the other calmer sounding hostels. And it also tells you about, the different things that they can provide. So
we do give you our take on the vibe that we felt during, in this hostel. So that's rather handy, right? So to find it on our website, I won't show you right now, I can tell you. So you go on BackpackerGuide.NZ, then you click on accommodation, and then you have a hostel recommendation. Then we classify that in Northern and Southern, so you know which city, and then each article pertains to only one city. So we made it really easy. When you're going to be looking for the Auckland one, you're going to click on accommodation, hostel recommendation, Northern and Auckland, you're sorted.
Yeah.
And you see all of them. And there's a link directly as well onto usually we put booking.com, because we do find they review a little bit more trustworthy, since they're usually paid. And people that have purchased it. So you know that the people actually have stayed here. So so BackpackerGuide.NZ, that would be the first way to find a hostel with the best vibes.
Yeah.
Next one on the list.
So another thing that I would consider is the location of the hostel. Obviously, there's going to be some hostels that are located dead in the center of a city or a town, which is ideal if you don't have your own transport, like a car, and you need to be able to walk to maybe the shops or the supermarket, or be able to get easily picked up from activity providers when going off to do your activities. So obviously, you will want to pick a more central hostel if that situation applies to you. Otherwise, if you've got your own transport and maybe you are looking for a more quieter hostel with something a little bit more relaxed on the outskirts of town, then that's another determining factor for picking a location. If you want something a little bit quieter and you've got your own transport, choose something outside of town.
Yeah, another thing that I would do for location is to use Google Street View. So, when you put the location on the hostel, you use Google Street View and you see straight away what's around the hostels. And that usually gives you the vibe. You know what I mean? If it's surrounded by nightclubs, well, obviously the people are going to be partying, they're going to go back up. So, and then they're going to go back to the hostel. So obviously that would be a really good way to do that. So Mathilde, you mentioned that you're a little bit older than the average backpacker and you want something calmer. Now, is it cheeky if I ask you to tell us your age? I think it's cheeky. Oh, tell us your age.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you don't want that vibes, well, you'll be able to see that really instantly. So for location, there's so many tools nowadays to be able to see the location. It's such a great way to do that. All right. So the next thing that you can kind of look at when choosing a hostel, and that's something that I do almost all the times, are the activities included, or what is happening in the hostel. Now, hear me out. I don't always want to go to the quiz night, to do the pizza night, to do the movie night, to go on a walking tour, to get the bike, the mountain bike,
bike rentals.
Bike rentals, all those kind of things. I don't always want to do that, but usually it tells me that if there is so many things happening, the owners really do care about their hostels. They really do care about the guests. If it's a hostel where nothing is happening, well, that means they don't give a damn. And if they don't really give a damn about the guests or try to make things happen or get everybody to bond together, well, that probably means they don't really give a damn about the hostel. And then that would mean that it may be a bit run down. That is not, it's not 100% true, right? But it does happen. If they do free like chocolate pudding nights first, this is how you get my business.
Yeah.
Let's just make that clear. You make it chocolatey and you get Robin's money. But if you do have those kind of nights, that means that the owner is actually willing to spend some money to get these things, to spend some time to make it. I'm just thinking right now, for example, of the Tombstone Backpackers, which is in Picton. It is one of my favorite hostels in New Zealand, and the owners wake up every single morning to bake fresh scones for all the guests, and this is entirely free. How good is that?
Yeah,
it is so epic. And it's such a cool vibe. And if the guy is willing to do that, to get everybody to bond together, that means that they really care.
Yeah.
So to me, checking out what is happening in that hostel really is going to tell you if it is going to actually be a really good hostel or not.
And it does give a good indication of what the rest of the hostel is going to be like as well, because with that example of the Tombstone Backpackers, they do constant renovation on their hostel to make it, modern and up to date. The dorm rooms are usually nice, fresh and clean. Yeah. So it's a good indication for what the rest of the hostel is going to be like as well.
Yeah, it basically tells you, does the owner care? Cares. So that's as simple as that. So for us, that's one that we actually take care a lot about. So now my team just said that, by the way, that she's 52 years old and she get on with young and old. And you know what? Good on you. We met a lot of people which were around your age and were having a blast around hostel in New Zealand. Anyway, the next thing that you're looking at to find the best hostels.
Yeah, so you also will want to consider the price. Obviously, the reason you're choosing hostels is mainly because you want to stick to a budget. And the hostel prices for a dorm room per night is usually between 21 New Zealand dollars to about 35 New Zealand dollars at the most. If you're paying anything over that for a dorm room, then that's usually a little bit too much and you're not really sticking to a budget, so you probably don't want to go for that. But if you're paying for less than that, then you might want to consider why is it so cheap. And usually the reason is that you actually have to hire bedding or something like that, and it's actually ends up being more costs, or you need to provide your own sleeping bag or something.
As a rule of thumb, if bedding is not included, that means that they really do not care.
Yeah.
And so don't stay in the hostel.
Yeah, exactly.
It's our take on it. If we see like bedding's not included or bedding fee or those kind of things, we just keep it.
Yeah, exactly. So, just try and obviously know what to expect to pay for a hostel and just go for that. Another thing that I would consider looking at is the website of a hostel. Usually, again, this is a good indication of whether the hostel owner cares or not. If they can maintain their own website and put up-to-date photos of the rooms and stuff on their website, then that usually means that the owner cares. But if you find a hostel website which is hard to use, looks really archaic, has pictures from the 70s or something, which looks super old, then you can pretty much guarantee that when you get to that hostel, it's probably not changed since the day that it opened 50 years ago and will look really run down and probably won't feel like a nice vibe. So, have a look on the website, see if they have a website, see if it looks like a good place, and that's usually.
And look at the pictures. You mentioned the pictures.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so important. There's so many times we actually go on the website, which is dead as old, and it has pictures like. I'm expecting to see like a Ford Model T kind of driving through a guy on a horse. It's just that old. So if you don't find like a decent pictures of the hostel, that means there is no way to take a decent picture of that hostels, because obviously that's their business to take really good pictures of those rooms. And so for this reason, stay away.
Yeah. Another thing to mention is that if you have signed up to any of those backpacker hostel networks, for instance, in New Zealand, popular ones are the Backpacker Group, there's YHA and BBH. If you have signed up to any of those, which usually gives you a small percentage off your room rate every single night, then obviously you'll want to make the most of that membership that you've purchased and find hostels in that hostel network. So that's another way to choose your hostel. If you've got a YHA card, well, you kind of want to make sure that you're getting the most of your money for it. So you choose a YHA hostel. And YHA hostels are actually usually known for being better for the older backpacking crowd. So maybe Matilda wants to consider going to a YHA hostel as well for the older crowd.
Yeah. Now, just to piggyback on this one, actually, if you guys are asking us which one is our current favorite hostel network, we do really like the backpacker groups lately. They have had quite a lot of new hostels coming up, and they're usually quite pretty good hostels. So if you have to pick one and only one, well, what about this one? I think that's a pretty good one.
And I think they have hostels in all the major, all the places you're pretty much going to visit.
I don't think they have one in Auckland, but I think they have everywhere else. So,
okay.
But if you do have a chance to do that, the membership is not too expensive, and I think it's going to be quite cool. Anyway, that's just something that comes up to us really often. So I just want you slide it in. What's the next one?
So, I was just going to mention actually, so if you are new to actually staying in hostels, we have done a whole video on a beginner's guide to staying in backpacker hostels in New Zealand. So take a look on our channel. We'll make sure we'll list it, we'll link to it in the description below. So you guys can check that out as well and see what hostels are like in New Zealand.
Yep. Did we do everything on the list?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So this is all our tips on basically the best ways to find the best hostel in New Zealand. That's a lot of best, the bestest of the best hostels. This should help you actually basically find the right accommodations for you, because yes, you're traveling around New Zealand for all the places and activities that you're going to be doing, but you still need a good night of rest, and usually having good vibe in your hostel, like a nice surf vibe hostel with a jacuzzi right in the middle of the area, and a free make your own pizza night. I'm talking about you, Raglan backpacker. And this is some of the best hostels in New Zealand. Everybody wants to find those hidden gems, and we make sure we help you find them with BackpackerGuide.NZ. So here you go. Anyway, if you did find this answer useful, click like. If you do want to hear more about our travel tips, click subscribe. And if you do have questions of your own, put them in the live chat or in the comments below this video. We do that every single week. I'm coming right here answering all your questions, so don't miss out.
Yeah.
All right, going back to the live chat, why in the world is actually joining us right now, just around the end, which is quite cool. He's asking best activities to do north of Auckland on the way to Cape Reinga.
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah, I like Goat Island Marine Reserve. What about you?
Oh, yeah, I like going to Poor Knights Islands, which is just off Tutukaka, a little bit north of Whangarei. So you can do like scuba diving there, you can do paddleboarding, just a boat cruise out there.
There's a couple of awesome Koori walks as well, which are really amazing. And obviously Pahia has a lot of things to do, like, you can explore the whole Bay of Islands and all that. It's so amazing.
Man, so, there's so much to do on the way up there. And Y2J is why the world now. So Y2J, you've seen that, when we did our 365 days, we actually really covered that part of the country extensively with
I think we did 40 videos about that.
Yeah, so there's honestly like so many activities to do on the way up there. So just have a watch through our videos again, and you will definitely be inspired, I'm sure.
So what we did actually with this like New Zealand's biggest gap here, we did so many activities. If you go on our YouTube channel and you click on playlist, we actually have made playlists for each different regions of New Zealand or each different cities and everything. So if you guys are traveling around New Zealand and you're lacking inspiration, or if you guys kind of want to know, okay, I'm about to do my bucket list right now, I'm not sure. If you go on our playlist tab, then you scroll down a little bit, because we first have all our travel tips, and then you'll find all the different regions of New Zealand. That is so helpful. You can skip like all this thing that you're like, okay, it's not my thing, moving on. It's not my thing, moving on. But for most of the places, we've done like, 10, 20, 30, 50 activities in all those places, and you get full-length video about each of those. So that's going to really help you kind of plan your trip around New Zealand and make the most of, all the content that we have, because that's one of the things that we always find a bit of a trouble, is that we create so much content for you. Sometimes you come up to us and be like, okay, I want to know this, and Laura and I we did already cover that about 3 times. So we are working at the moment a lot about creating playlists to help you guys. So if you do have some feedback for us about those playlists, make sure you do that. You comment on any of our videos. You talk to us on Facebook or any of that, just because we know that kind of the flow of information on our channel is like I think we're close to like 500 videos.
Yeah.
Something that is just crazy. And again, you know, this week we just passed the 800,000 views, which we are so stoked about. We're so thankful for that. But if we can successfully make your life even easier in finding those videos on our channel, well, we want to do that. So make sure you share our feedback. So yeah, that's going to be our tips. Our tip for using our channel. Anyway, so again, this week, the major news of the week was the fact that Waiho Bridge, or whatever bridge down there, the bridge down on the west coast of New Zealand is now reopened. So that's pretty cool. You can now travel all around the southern of New Zealand without any interruption, and you can make your way very easily to Franz Josef and Fox Glacier.
I was just thinking about these guys sailing Aquarius around the world. I was just thinking we didn't actually meet.
Oh yeah, we were supposed to. So the story behind that is that they have a really cool travel channel on YouTube, and they are making their way around New Zealand right now. And we were supposed to meet up and do a video together, but well, they contacted us and we said yes, but they forgot about us. So this what happened. So too bad we didn't. To be fair, guys, the walk was really awesome. So the waterfall was beautiful and the walk was really awesome. It's just too bad you guys didn't see it.
Yeah.
But we'll take you there next time you come to New Zealand. We have no hard feeling whatsoever. All right, quickly before you go, Martin's asking, is it better to use cash or cards?
Or card most of the time.
Most of the time.
So if you are backpacking for a few months in New Zealand, definitely get yourself a New Zealand bank card. Open a New Zealand bank account, which we have loads of videos and information about that on BackpackerGuide.NZ. And this is the way most people pay for things in New Zealand. And it's definitely easier to have a bank card if it is from New Zealand. But if you're using an international bank card, a lot of fees come with that, so we would definitely recommend in that instance to use cash.
Now we actually have a video. We literally received this question last month. So we have a video about what's the best way to pay in New Zealand. So suddenly you use the little search bar on the channel and you'll hear about us talking for about 8 or 9 minutes about all the pros and cons and all those different stuff. Hey, Grant, thank you very much for joining us live. First time you catch us live. That's
and you're
cool.
catching us just at the
We're
end.
about to wrap up. We're literally just about to wrap up, man. You should show up. Okay, next week, same time, 1 hour before.
Shall we go through the times now?
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So I think I've updated this one correctly. So if you want to join us next week, so if you are based in the US, that's going to be on Saturday. Why is it wiped?
Oh, sorry.
So it's going to be on Saturday at 4 p.m. EST and 12 p.m. PST. If that's where you're from, Grant. Now, Grant, I'm just talking to you, Grant, nobody else. Now, Grant, if you are from the UK, it would be 9 p.m. on Saturday. Now, Grant, if you're from France, it's not a French name, Grant. There is no way you're from France. So if you're Granton, if you're from France, it's 10 p.m., so 22. And if you're from India, Grant, it is on Sunday morning, super early at 1:30 a.m.
Grant is definitely an Indian name.
Yeah, Grant is definitely an Indian name. Anyway, and obviously, if you are in New Zealand, it is 8 a.m. New Zealand time on Sundays every single week. So that's pretty much it. Now, don't forget to join us next week. We are going to be giving you more details about meeting up with us in Auckland early next month. So yeah, if you join us next week, you'll know all about that. I'm just trying to finalize a few things and make sure that I book a place which is cool enough for everybody.
It's got to be cool enough.
Yeah, it has to be cool enough.
Only the best for the Backpacker Guide fans.
Only the best. Anyway, I just need to book a table in the bar. I just have to get around and do it. That's pretty much it. All right, thank you very much for joining us, guys. It was a pleasure to have you around. In the meantime, we wish you an awesome exploring around New Zealand and see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you guys.